Yep. There it is.
Okay, we're good?
We're good.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Really glad you were all able to make today's session on the Santa Ana Youth Media Project, Community Expression and Self-Determination. This is a project that's been a part of us for about a year now that we've been slowly developing this work. Much of it is brand new. And so I'm hoping and looking forward to the end of our session so that we could brainstorm and possibly get some feedback and have a discussion around this work within the context of Orange County and specifically Santa Ana. Just really excited to be here with you all and working. So I see some faces like Steve Goodman that has been a part of this project that has helped conceptualize, think through some of these projects. So thank you so much. And Anat for also brainstorming with me as we try to give birth to this piece. Okay, next slide. Actually, before they do that, I want to possibly just introduce ourselves. My name is Jorge Rodriguez. I'm an assistant faculty professor at Chapman University. My area is within critical education, ethnic studies, and then most recently started doing work around critical media literacy. I'm coming to this field from the perspective of YPAR, critical education, documenting youth narratives. And so found that there was a natural link, organic link between the information that is being produced by our youth and being able to document our youth narratives. And so, yeah, y'all want to introduce yourselves?
I can go. Hi all, my name is Elena Marquez, pronouns she, her, hers, and I'm a PhD in education student at Chapman. And I am very new to Santa Ana Youth Media Project, but I live in Santa Ana and I'm really interested in critical literacy, and my background is as a secondary English teacher. So I've been lending a little bit of research to the YPAR aspect of this project, and I'm excited to share some of the work that's being done.
Hey everyone, I'm Avery. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I've been with this project since Jorge first talked about it with our class, and I told him that I was interested, and I've been here ever since. I've done a little bit of everything in terms of like photography, videography, the script editing for this project, but probably the biggest thing that I've done is the website, which I'm excited is finally finished and able to be released this week, which we'll be showing you today. And I come to this project from a perspective of like, I am a theater and education double major at Chapman, and I am really invested in arts education, as well as like education that is like, you know, anti-colonialist, anti-racist, and just like education that liberates people from oppression. And I think this project was a really, really great way to learn from experience with like how that really works and what it really looks like on the ground, from the ground up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yenni Diaz, and I was born in Mexico but raised in Santa Ana. I'm a community organizer, and that's how the term that I like to call myself. And I am connected with folks at Chapman University and loving the project that we're working on. But Jorge thought about this, started talking about a project like this, and I said, yes, I'm on board, let's do this. It's needed, and we'll get more into that. But I want to make sure, specifically like my role, how can a university connect with the community, right? And have that bridge. We need to do more of that throughout our institutions. in Santana. Chapman University is right around the corner, right next door to the city, and we need to build more connections. And excited to present what we've done in the past year.
Awesome. So just quickly, like, what do we envision, or what is the Santa Ana Youth Media Project? The Santa Ana Youth Media Project basically came together by asking folks from different parts of the county, the city, to come together to document youth narratives, critical youth narratives locally. So Chapman, I'm at Chapman, and so students that I've been connected to are invited to be a part of this project. And then also, I thought it was important for community members to be a part of this project, but then also local youth to be a part of this project. So there's 3 communities that are coming together. It's the institution, the local university institution, the surrounding community, and then students from both of those areas. We're super new, so we're beginning as an idea, and so I like to say that we want to keep a door open towards growth and really approaching new ideas and new areas. But that's in just kind of what we want to do. We want to document the narratives that are happening around us. I was born and raised in Santana. I'm originally from Santana as well. I was born on the south side of Santana, and there's a lot of desperate based needs in the city. Policies are deficit-based when it comes to youth, and often the narratives of youth are not amplified, or there aren't in many spaces within the city or the rest of Orange County, whether they be media, whether they be centers, whether they be organizations that amplify youth voice. And so we thought that there was a need to be able to create this space for us to be able to amplify youth and community voice within a critical perspective. We also thought that there was a need for us to interpret the policies that were directed towards youth, or when we talked about budgets, that the budgets were inclusive of youth narratives as well. And so we didn't necessarily see that there was a platform that communicated this. This is what launched us into this piece, the Santa Ana Youth Media Project. And so as it stands right now, it's a website with embedded resources. And we're trying to begin to do media. And when we speak of media, it's across the board. So whether it's analog, whether it's digital, documentaries, blogs, any form of media that you may interpret, youth may use. Slide.
I'll let Avery share the website and walk through a little bit.
Okay. All right. Does it look good? Or I mean, like, can you see it? It probably looks good, but can you see it? Okay.
And we can see it.
Thanks. I also just realized, oh, that's where it is. Okay, hold up. Let me just fix one of the pages really quick. Okay. Anyway, so this is the website. I'm very proud of it. I'm very happy with it. Just so you know, for all of the photos that you see on this website, unless otherwise stated, they're all for me. So just just so in case you were wondering why there's no credit for them. So this is our website. You can access it on your desktop or mobile. The mobile has not been optimized yet, but this is what it looks like when you first pop in. And you can click onto this page, Perspectives of Their City, to see kind of the official what the project has become. And this is a lot different from the vision that we had imagined the first time we were, starting to brainstorm what this project was going to look like. We were probably imagining maybe a 15-minute documentary, but over the course of time and over the course of getting to know what our interviews had looked like, we realized that at least for our first project, we needed to start out with something that was a little bit more, a little bit more natural and a little bit more able for us to be able to kind of have it be a little bit more informal. But so you can scroll down and you can go to any of these. They were initially going to be, so this was going to be like our, initial documentary, which was part 1 was going to be community, part 2 was going to be expression, and part 3 was self-determination. But as of right now, they're no longer numbered because for the visitors of the website, if one of these draws your eyes the most, then you can go to that one the most, or the first. And then we also have a little box for feedback, which is very helpful in case you have any constructive feedback or compliments or the opposites of compliments, whatever. We're open to hearing anything. So let's go to our community page. And so I'm just gonna walk through what like a visitor would see. So they would come in, they can play this video. I don't have my audio enabled, but you can play it. And then you can also scroll down, and at the same time, you can read the transcript of the video. And at the same time, you can also see a couple images here and there, and a couple of statistics and imagery as well. So that you can sort of have this experience of both listening to what the person is saying, as well as kind of analyzing the truth behind what they're saying and what it really means from a analytical perspective as well. And also we're doing our best to embed other articles and stuff. So if you click on this will take you to an article from Voice of OC. And if you can click on some of these, it'll also take you to some of these sources that we used. So for example, I clicked on that one on mental health disparities, and it took me to this document that we cited from the American Psychiatric Association. And so you can do that for most of this. So as well as where we came from this, you can also see the sources. And we think it was really important to include, include our sources because from any perspective of whoever is coming in, whether they are an educator or they are a student or they're a college student or a high school student, we want them to be able to kind of follow along with the process of like me, Jorge, Yenni, as we ourselves also delved into what these youth were saying. And so at the bottom, and then we also have like some quotes and stuff from articles as well, and also sources. So at the bottom, we have an analysis from Jorge, Yenni, and Elena. And it's pretty self-explanatory. It is commentary on what the youth are saying in the context of Santa Ana, as well as we included some other resources as well, such as some videos from Chispa OC, which is a youth political organizing group in Santa Ana, and Instagram posts, YouTube videos, like you name it, like, and everything's here. So we can also go to the other pages just to look at what they feel like. And so this is the expression page. I think this one's my favorite because it's a lot of arts and stuff on here, and I'm a very artsy person. So this is a video of
traditional dance forms.
Ballet Folklorico from OSHA, which Anaí mentions. And then we have some graphics from GLSEN, which is the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network. And they also have a report on erasure and on the lives of Latinx LGBTQ youth at school, which I thought was so cool. And they have so many other resources too. I could go on and on. So yeah, and I also contacted one of my friends we have a lot of, I think like one of the great parts about like having our group of collaborators from Chapman and from Santa Ana and from beyond is that we know everybody, we know a lot of people. And this is the photography work of one of my friends, Carlos, and he is a Santa Ana native, and he has done really cool photography work that we're very excited to be able to feature on our website. So below here we have the analysis by Yenni, and as well as other resources. And I'll just give a quick glance at the self-determination page. We hope that you will be able to look at the website on your own and explore it for yourself, and also leave feedback, because if it's not like, you know, if there's any feedback that you have, we'd be happy to hear it because, you know, this is our first launch, and so we're open to hearing everything else. And then quick other pages. This is our about page. I don't know. It just looks really cool, so I'm really happy about it. And here's our team. Okay, I should probably pass it back to somebody else now, but it's exciting. Okay.
Thanks, Avery. That was a great overview and your excitement was palpable. I am going to share the videos with you all because I think it's a great way to introduce some of the ideas and probably a place where most people will start on the website. So let me share my screen.
Elena, can I give maybe just a really quick context around that?
Yep, of course.
What's cool about the videos is that all of the videos are transcribed and all the research is embedded. So they read as if it was an essay. But it's multi learning. So like you could visually see it, you could hear it, you could see it. I mean, so there's all these like different multi ways to be able to understand it.
Okay.
Well, so this is the one story that I like to share with our youth and a lot of people that is the students that I come across. I've done some research. There's like a little over 30 museums in Orange County, and I'm the only Latino executive director. And so I want our students to know that we are capable of leading and we're capable of making a difference in each other's lives and the community's lives. And like I say, like, I want you to be the future leaders of this museum. I want you to be the future leaders of this space. So yeah, that's what I want from them. I want them to know that they are capable of doing what they want to do. I was never told I was that when I was younger.
You know, I just want like this city to like, you know, strive for our community, youth, elders, like everyone, like.
Knowing the history of Santa Ana, knowing that there is a development of who resides or who resided in the city, I think is very important to know. So
that sense of community that I feel just going anywhere, and the vibrancy of language that exists here. Santa Ana, to me, is an entirely bilingual city, and it really shows in just how easy it is for the two worlds to come together through the common use of the Spanish language, and how influential that is just in everything.
You know, a lot of people say they're the future, and it's like, no, they don't have to be the future. Like, they can be right now. Like, make your mark right now.
Okay, so you can hear me. Okay, so that was a great overview of the Youth Perspectives project. And as after going through all of the interviews, there were three main themes that were identified in the Youth Perspectives project: community, self-determination, and expression. So that's why the website is divided into those 3 pages right now. So we'll show each of those 3 videos as well. Oh no. Hold on 1 second. I can't get to the full screen because of the way it's formatted. 1 second. There we go. And
dirty, it's trashy, there's just, it looks run down even though it's not. And again, it all depends on who you're talking to, because people who've grown up here or people who have connections to it feel very passionately about it, and people who don't have that don't see the diamond in the rough that it is.
Most of them say negative comments about Santana. They have this negative, like, just connotation to it. Like, they think it's just violence, a lot of gangs, and it's just not a good place to live in, which I can see why they think that, because that's all they see in the news, right? They portray us to, like, think of, like, not just Santana really, but other cities like Anaheim or Garden Grove that make it seem like it's dangerous to live here. But in reality, like, I've never felt once like I wanted to leave here.
So when I went to OSHA for the first time in 7th grade, it was a couple years before I think the 4th Street Market was set up. So before that, the school kind of advertised that Santana was like very dangerous. It was always like sent out in parent emails, don't let your kids walk this way, don't pick your kids up in this area or across the street. And it wasn't until the 4th Street Market was kind of brought up and more gentrification started to happen that they were like, you know what, maybe we can let our kids hang out there. It's run by white people. We can go ahead and let them walk to this coffee house. Like,
there are a lot of streets and neighborhoods in Santana that you just know everyone, everybody knows everyone, and everyone's willing to help each other out. Like, you know, if you need some food, go to a troquita. Like, you don't have to like go out 10 minutes, get yourself a drive. Everything is walking distance. And so that's what makes it like community, you know, and you feel that love like in that street. Everybody knows each other. So definitely I would say that those are what most neighborhoods are here in Santana.
Because regardless of where you're from culturally, Hispanic culture, it's very much about family and it's about community. And there is an overarching and overwhelming sense of culture and community in all parts of Santana.
Santana is a primarily Latino city, mostly Spanish speakers, and I want to say there's a strong Mexican presence in particular out of all the Latinos, and I would 100% identify as Mexican. So to me, this is a great reflection of who I am and who my family is.
Most of the city budget goes to like the police department. I don't really see them investing too much in like youth or like even the community really. Like, we don't really have that many parks here. So I don't really think they do invest in that, because if they would, like, it would show.
I know they're trying to make a few parks in different areas, but I don't think they put the youth first, of course. I mean, it took years for those parks to be built. It took years for the pools to be open. It's not their main focus. I think it's just someone pushed for it or asked for it, and it just kind of happened because of that, not because they're trying to put the youth first.
I would want more resources for us, like not even like academically resources, but like resources for like, you know, our mental health. Like, just we don't really have enough of that. We struggle like a lot on a daily basis, and I feel like if we just had more resources and more help for us, we would succeed more in like the future.
No. Okay. No. Oops. Here's our video on self-determination.
think of Bristol Street, like that street's very iconic. If we're protesting out there, there's protests, there's Mexico game, they go out there with their flags and they're just cheering on. I still go to the Swami still at Bristol, like that street definitely, like I know a lot of people that are always out there, street vendors everywhere. Like whenever I see like a paletero man, like that just reminds me like, you know, I'm at home, you know. But Bristol Street is definitely a street that's like iconic here. And El Toro too, like the saying, like if you don't know El Toro, you don't know Santana. So it's exactly like what it means, so yeah.
The vision I have for the city and its youth would be incorporating cultural heritage and artistic development into just everyday life from infancy till adulthood, because at least in my interpretation and my view, Mexican culture specifically is so fundamentally, art, music, dance is so fundamentally ingrained into the DNA of our culture, and it extends into how we interact with our community, how we interact with one another.
I know for sure it hasn't targeted me, but I know it's targeted a lot of people and my friends and my family's friends and kids is kind of the gang problem that's going on. I think if that were to be taken away, there would be a significant like increase in joy, happiness, and just safety overall, and not just physical safety of like walking down the street and being afraid, but also for the youth, it's important for them not to be involved in that and fall into this system. And then a lot of stories have been heard about like prison pipelines, and you start in a gang in school and then you get kicked out of school, or like schools don't take it seriously, so they're not helping you, and eventually you're gonna end up in prison. It's just a whole system, and if you were just to take away the gangs, there's hope that that wouldn't happen and we could create happy youth, happy community, basically.
Like we gotta go to the schools and see who are teaching these students. Like, you know, I wanna go into like the root of it all. And I'd actually would want to know what the youth would like. But from my experiences, if I was a high school student right now, I think more guidance definitely in the schools, because as children, as youth, we do need guidance. And if teachers or counselors aren't helping us, we're gonna be struggling and succeeding in the future.
More ease of access to the arts, because I know it's not, unless it's something truly culturally significant, like baile folclórico or learning how to play an instrument for banda or things like that, it's not as heavily pushed and emphasized in our community. So if I had the opportunity and the ability to do so, I would push for easier access to arts, education, and just arts in general.
And here is our last one on expression.
Driving around Main Street, Santana, that fills me with such joy. And even going about my daily things, there's always music playing, there's always something artistic just in the veins of this city that you can always tap into, and it's just beautiful to have it be constantly there and constantly and positively stimulating.
I did Ballet Folklorico at OSHA, and that's kind of the smallest program that's available at that school. So it's like 50 of us, and those 50 like obviously knew that Santana was like okay. So we started doing performances and getting together with admin to show them like there's good things to this bad Latino culture that you're trying to say, basically. And I think we did make an impact on certain teachers and people that didn't otherwise know, at least those who accepted our comments towards them.
Little by little, Santa Ana is like being displaced due to like gentrification. Like little by little, I see my city like changing in that way. Like there's not as many murals here. I see more people coming from different cities, you know, investing here. And so I do see that shift coming. And I fear that, you know, if most of us here in Santa Ana don't do something about it, it'll just completely be different.
And there are places and spaces, at least from when I remember then till now, that queer youth in Santa Ana have to go to as you know, places of calm. It gets more into a clash of culture that queer youth have to overcome, but strides have been taken and steps have been made towards having more of those areas and spaces in the city.
I think I would like to see more spaces that are youth-friendly, and that can just mean like a coffee shop, more parks, green areas to hang out at instead of just restaurants and bars that are like hip and trendy, but is that really what young kids can do? No. So we need to have more areas that are open, inclusive, and not just for youth. I think there needs to be areas like that that are open for parents and for adults who just want to have like safe spaces to hang out in.
I don't want the youth to like think that they're not enough or they can't achieve to greatness, right? And so I want a space, I want this city to feel like at home, and for youth as well. I want them to like be proud of like where they are, where they grew up in. You know, I don't want them to be ashamed of themselves when they look in the mirror. And so having that representation of themselves, like whether it be murals, whether it be just spaces where they feel like they belong and they're safe and they're loved, like that's what I would like for the city to like feel like and look like.
Well, those were here.
Where's this Jorge? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Those were the 3 videos that we came together. Each one of those videos is has its own page that Avery talked about, and what I really like about it is that when, for example, one of the youth talks about they want spaces that are inclusive of youth, such as that are not just bars, 21 and over, or just trendy. There's statistics and research that was done on gentrification, youth spaces in the city that backs up her statement. And so you could read that towards the bottom in the of that page. But why Santana? There's several things that we thought were important as to why we wanted to situate this project in Santana. Some of these things were already said by the youth, and there's research on the website that you all could continue to do a little bit more research. But one of the things that I wanted to say, contribute, and then I'll turn it over to Yenni, is more than 50% of the city's budget gets allocated to the police department. So when you think of youth-based programming in the city of Santana, it's always through the lens of the police department. So when we think of youth development arts and culture, parks and rec, it's heavily predominated and controlled by police-based rhetoric, police-based ideology. There's a huge push on behalf of youth to undo this, to redo the budgets. But the police department has basically been in control of the city for generations. Like it's basically has a stronghold on the city. Also, Santana is also considered one of the youngest cities in the nation. So there's more youth per square mile in Santana than in any other place in the country, mid-sized city in the country. And so that contradiction in itself gives insight as to why youth are wanting to push back and want to hold their own space. I have a bunch of more things, but I want to go ahead and turn it over to Yenni as she could give some more context.
Thank you, Jorge. So Santana is it's in the middle of the county, and our county, Orange County, is considered, up until recently, really Republican. There are a lot of rich cities around Santana. So even when we see the median wages, they're really high compared to what you would see in Santana or in Anaheim. So there's a history in Santana of organizing, and with the project, right, we wanted to make sure and say, like, the youth, right, know what's going on, whether they're involved or not. And if we were to have interviewed people or youth now, we could see that this past, because of COVID and because of all the uprisings and the protests that have been happening, like, in fact, yes, right, the youth are aware that the city spends less money on them, or there's not enough parks, right? The academics could see and the politicians could give you the stats to that. The youth know it and feel it, and we could see it in the videos, right? What is it that they love, and what is it that they would want more of? The city used to have a model of education first. That is no longer the model. The model now is downtown Orange County. So it's a real shift. And there's a history of organizing, but there's a history of it being essential, as Jorge mentioned some of the stats of where how much money is spent on the police budget, and how much money is not allocated towards open space and the lack of open space and green space. So it's super important to have the youth perspective, right? They're living through it, and they are the ones that know, right, and have these stories from their grandparents, parents, and themselves growing up in the city, and especially those that are able to leave the city and compare how the city looks to our neighboring cities around us, that they start reflecting on them, right? And throughout the videos, and the website, you could see the different research that people have put. And so we think that this is like really important to put their voices out there with the backing of research that has been done that says, yeah, you're right. You don't only feel it and know it. Actually, someone has done the research, and here's what we're presenting it together. So the website is amazing, where you could go through it multiple times to read, to learn more about, right, the youth perspective and the research behind it.
Yenni, can I give it an example of like deficit-based vision or viewing of our youth? There's Santana is known for its skating culture. So like it's underground, informal skating culture. So there's like, if you ever drive down through the middle of Santana, you'll see a bunch of kids always with skateboards, like doing tricks on the corners, like really, really awesome skate scene. But Santana only has 2 skate parks. One of them that is an official skate park. The other one is like it's kind of like a kiddie skate park on a corner. So like youth don't really go to it because it's so small. I've been in conversation with folks that are in the professional skating scene that basically tour all over the world skateboarding, they fly internationally to Santana just to skate with their kids because they're so like good, like they're so good. But yet when you talk about skating in Santana, it's always seen as a deficit. It's always talked about as if it's destroying property, or they're just laundering in the corners, like not doing anything. They're skipping school to go skating. Like it's always looked at really from a deficit-based lens. And so that is one example, but it's across the board, like how education, arts, space culture, sports, any type of recreation-based programming that youth want to be a part of, dance, music, all those things, is always looked at negatively. The punk scene in Santana is also one of the most popular and advanced punk scenes in the nation. Like folks from Japan used to tour through Santana, from Europe used to tour through Santana, and they used to have shows in garages. And I mean, it's very, very much punk to do that. But Santana is a hub for that. Definitely not recognized by the city, demonized and actually persecuted by the police department. And so the history of resilience and art production of youth and mobilization of youth in the city has always been at odds with authority and the establishment of the rest of the city. So this is kind of like beginning to mitigate these stories and bring them back up.
Yenni, did you have anything else?
Maybe we could continue so then we could have some more dialogue with the folks.
Of course. So we have some of our questions for you all. Just to kind of start framing the dialogue, because we do want to hear from all of you what questions you have for us. So we want to know if you've ever been part of critical media literacy projects in your communities. Since we're so young as an organization and just starting out, we'd love to hear your learnings from that process. So methods, strategies that you've developed for youth to really, take ownership of the process, and any projects that you've had working and organizing with youth. And then topics that resonated with you as you learned about Santa Ana youth perspectives of their cities. Were there any themes or conflicts that really resonated with you, commonalities, differences, maybe from the context that you're coming from or the context you grew up in? And then any strategies on how to capacitate our youth in media production. So bottom-up methods to tap into the knowledge base youth already have. Right now we're working with a high school in Santa Ana, and we are, they're recording little food narratives, exploring this pedagogy of food and what they learn from food and their families. And, we kind of opened it up and said, you can use TikTok. We know you're already on TikTok. We just want you creating these counter narratives. And so that was one of our strategies, but we'd love to hear how you all have formulated some of these ideas as well. So I'm going to stop share so we can see each other, and then I'll plug these questions into the chat.
Can I just jump in really quick? Really special. I just want to highlight two folks in particular that are on here. Karen Garcia, which is one of the students that is in our video. I hate to put you on the spot. Well, would you want to say some words? And then also Cara Garcia, which is ethnic studies high school teacher at Santa Ana High School. Very influential in the youth scene and does a lot for our youth. So I just want to recognize that they're on this call too, and just want to invite them into our conversations. They're truly my inspiration for sure.
You're muted, Kara, if you could just unmute.
Oh, did you want us to talk a little bit or no?
Yeah, introduce yourselves. Yeah,
okay.
give us love.
I just, first of all, I love Santana. I'm a teacher at Santana High School, and I just, the power of narratives, the power of stories, the fact that, the city, and the youth, and I am just so inspired by seeing the videos and being part of this project. And yeah, it's incredible, incredible.
Oh, Karen says, I'm currently at work. I can't talk, but I just want to say that this experience was amazing and I'm honored to be a part of this. Cool.
Jorge, could I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm wondering if you and your team or others on in this workshop could share from their experiences. What are things to think about or advice that you'd have for others who are trying to develop university and community collaboratives that are truly equitable, and especially that allows for, as you've done, to support, critical voices of youth and others in the community that, been underrepresented. What should we be thinking about to develop those kind of relationships, with the schools, the university, community?
Can I say something? I think the first thing to make sure of is that I guess just like you check your privilege, because like with the basically Chapman kind of has a power dynamic with the cities around it, and that is, especially coming from a private university, that power dynamic might be different with a public university or a community college. But because we are at a private institution, we need to be very aware that we're not trying to like be a like a charity, or like we're not trying to go into a community and like fix them, or like kind of look at them like they're in a zoo, like, man, like those people over there, that's how they live. And like you need to kind of not attack, but like come at the the project or the question in a very humanitarian angle, at a very privilege aware angle, at a very oppression aware angle. And especially even on an individual level too, because as an Asian person, I am not a member of Latinx community or Latinx culture, and coming in, I was also like nervous at the same time too. So it's also like being aware of my own privilege and my own like different backgrounds too, that allow me not to kind of look at the project as a way to, as like as like an essay, or as like we're gonna make this fun little video, but kind of like just listening, just listening to another community. And in return, maybe, the other community will also listen to you too, because also with Kara, like, I think, Kara, you mentioned that you were inspired by us, but we were also really inspired by you too. You don't even know. So it goes both ways, and it's a conversation, if that is helpful.
I think that there's an importance to also, with that intention that Avery mentioned, but also have to make sure that you bring in people, or you're connecting with people that are connected to community already, right? So if you're coming from the outside, or an institution, right? That if you have a connection, or if you could get one that then could connect it to others, like then there's that trust, and people are going to be more open. When working with youth, especially, right? Who are you? Where are you coming from? So having those relationships are really important, and building them from the beginning, right? Not just when a project comes up, not right, but especially maybe at the initial of the project, bring them in and have them participate to create that vision and expand that.
It was really important at the beginning of the project for us to have these ongoing conversations continuously. So like that very first part of the project for me was really, really special because Avery and Yenni would remember that we intentionally chose coffee shops and locations around the city of Santana to have our meetings. And every time we would go to a new space, it was always really trying to have it not be work, not be a project, but just like building relationships with each other, sitting down, having tea with each other, coffee, and then just kind of, we used to call them dream sessions. Like, so what do we want? What do we want to do? Like, what do you, and I mean, it's also a double-edged sword because the dream sessions would be really fun, but then we would get to the end and be like, okay, so what are we doing again? So what are we going to produce? So what's that one thing? And I know that sometimes was really taxing for us too, to be really transparent in our project, was because we loved coming together and dreaming about what it is that we wanted. But then when it came to like producing what it is that we wanted in a way that was equitable, including all of the communities that were going to be a part of it, was harder. So just really trying to navigate those pieces in the best way that we could. Yeah, and we're still navigating it, to be real. Like, we're still trying to make sense of those pieces.
I know there's a lot of folks with their cameras off. I hope not that everyone's working, but that they could actually, I would love to hear feedback of the video. What did you think, right? What resonated? Being since we're newer, right? We do definitely want to hear what folks thought or what they felt. Michelle.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'll just introduce myself really quickly. I'm currently at Cal State Long Beach studying, finishing up my English single subject teaching credentials. So I was drawn to this because I know Yenni a little bit, and so I got really excited to see that. And I know that a lot of great, community work is being done in Santana, and I'm really trying to learn more about not just traditional like writing essays and things like that, and like media projects. Yeah, I learned a lot from the videos. I grew up in Orange County, but I'm in Los Alamitos. So yeah, hearing the students' reflection, or I don't know, I'm coming from a teacher background, so in my head, if they're young, I'm thinking of them as a student, but that might not be true. But it was very interesting to hear their perspectives about their lives, and learning about also the, 50% of the budget is now like with the police, and all that stuff. I guess my one thought was that I hadn't really known as much about what this project was. In my head, I was like, oh, this is probably like a high school classroom, and they're like, creating things within that framework. I didn't realize it was like a multi-collaborative thing. But I think for me, I wanted to see a little bit more of things directly created by the youth. That was my one insight. Yeah.
Can I share right now? Just to the woman who just spoke right now, y'all are able to come into my classroom and do whatever you want. We have an advanced ethnic studies class, year 2. We have 3 sections. So if Say wants to come in and start doing youth produced, teenage produced, high school produced projects, let's make it happen. Let's put it down there. Okay. Let's do it.
Michelle, one of the dreams that we have that we want for the project is for youth to be producing their own media, and we were basically on the verge. So like the collaborators that were interviewed were also the beginning, the part of the beginning of the organization, and so they were also supposed to finish the product, the end product with us. But things, COVID hit, classrooms hit, like all sorts of stuff hit. And so we were kind of caught with like, okay, we need to produce whatever it is that we have. But it is very much our, I know for myself, and I know that we've talked about it, to have youth-based horizontal leadership in the organization, so that they take leadership of the organization as well. There is another aspect to the organization that is kind of developing now, and it's also kind of going back to that question that Steve asked about how are we negotiating the institution. But there is a class that I created called IES 295. It's a fieldwork class, and it's on critical media literacy and the San Ana Youth Media Project that both, and I want to give shout out to Steve, because in the summer, this past summer of 2020, we spent almost the entire summer kind of meeting and planning theoretically, practice-based, like how it is that we would design this class. And what we had in mind was for it to be an in-person, like out in the field type of thing with youth. And then COVID hit, and I had to like rethink of the class in a whole different way. But we have that. We're just waiting for those opportunities. So we are working with the 295 class, which are on the session right now. And then Elena talked about the project that we're doing with Century High School on food pedagogies. So they're interviewing their family members around experiences around food. And so we'll see how that goes. So yeah, we're trying to do some work like that.
I just want to say it's really exciting seeing this work and just hearing about these collaborations. This is amazing. This is not happening in many places. And I hope you feel comfortable to reach out to, everybody involved in this conference to get people to help support you. I would love to, there are people and there are resources out there. What you're doing is the hardest part, and we just got to support this. This is fabulous.
I also wanted to ditto to everything Jeff said, and also add that I was particularly appreciative of the way that the content was organized on the website, and the way that even the construction of how things were presented involved the youth and their perspectives, and was taken kind of from the thematic analysis of the interviews. And I think that's just a really beautiful way to collaborate in thinking about how it's presented as well. And there's sometimes ways that even if it's not directly present or created by youth, that their mark is so deeply embedded and so thoughtfully embedded in the work that you can see it and feel it like all the way through. And I appreciated that a lot about the website.
Love the website, and we know that it's going to be a place where we want to feature future work. And the other side of creating, whether it's a TikTok, right, unless it goes viral, or it's a project for a class at high school or junior high or something like that, where is it going to be featured? You're right, like someone could have something produced themselves, but that we want to make sure that there is that space for the youth to have a place where it can be showcased there, and have a platform.
There was a video not too long ago on Instagram that Avery made us aware of. And it was a student from Chapman that was also from Santana. And they made a video. They wrote a love letter to their city. And it was really short. How long was it? It's like 2 minutes or 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it's about 2 minutes. I'll send the link right now.
And it's just this beautiful, powerful, honest video. And we totally thought like the work that is produced by the San Diego Media Project doesn't necessarily have to come from us. Like the website could be a space where youth media that is produced on their own that needs to be amplified and that needs to have space. It could also live, and then it could be like a space where credit is due, where we could do interviews of the youth that are producing this media. I don't know, there's all these things that could happen out of the website that we get excited about. But this one was one that we thought was like, wow, like how cool to feature this person in this video. Even though we didn't produce it, we had nothing to do with it, but at least it could be featured based off of the work that youth are already doing.
Well, we're about out of time. This has been fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing. It's just inspirational to see what's happening and what youth are doing. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Our email is on their Facebook. All of the social media is on their Instagram, Facebook. Like us, we will be sharing this content. We haven't actually shared it yet, like publicly. Like it's been on the website, but we haven't actually done a whole entire thing to get it out there. So we're gonna start doing that pretty soon. So kind of like the videos and follow us and see what else gets produced. Oh, we also didn't get to share a video that we did on the police brutality. So watch that. So there's a video on there on police brutality, an interview that happened. So thank you very much.